The Mystery of the Scandinavian Ghost Rockets, Part 2, The Greek Connection. Hi, this is Anthony. Welcome back to my show. As always, before I begin, please click the subscribe button below. It really helps me out, and it doesn't cost you anything. Thanks so much. Ghost rockets, or Scandinavian ghost rockets, were rocket or missile-shaped unidentified flying objects sighted in 1946, mostly in Sweden and nearby countries like Finland. In the video that I uploaded yesterday, I talked about the experience of ghost rockets over the Nordic countries. I'm going to present a short addendum and then discuss what I think was behind the phenomenon. The Greek government investigation. The ghost rocket reports were not confined to Scandinavian countries. Similar objects were also reported early the following month by British Army units in Greece, especially around Thessaloniki. In an interview on September 5, 1946, the Greek Prime Minister Konstantinos Tsildaris likewise reported a number of projectiles that had been seen over Macedonia and Thessaloniki on September 1st. In mid-September, they were also seen in Portugal and then in Belgium and northern Italy. The Greek government conducted their own investigation with their leading scientist, physicist Dr. Paul Santorinis, in charge. Santorinis had been a developer of the proximity fuse on the first A-bomb and held patent or guidance systems for Nike missiles and radar systems. Santorinis was supplied by the Greek army with a team of engineers to investigate what again were believed to be Soviet missiles flying over Greece. In a 1967 lecture to the Greek Astronomical Society, broadcast on Athens radio, Santorinis first publicly revealed what had been found in his 1947 investigation. Quote, "We soon established that they were not missiles, but before we could do any more, the Army, after conferring with foreign officials, presumably the U.S. Defense Department, ordered the investigation stopped. Foreign scientists from Washington flew to Greece for secret talks with me," unquote. Later, Santorinis told UFO researchers such as Raymond Fowler that secrecy was invoked because officials were afraid to admit of a superior technology against which we have no possibility of defense. So, were these ghost rockets either over Scandinavia or other parts of Europe actually V-2 rockets from the former German rocket base on Peenemünde? Perhaps ones that were being tested by the Soviets? At the end of the war, a race began between the United States and the USSR to retrieve as many V-2 rockets and staff as possible. 300 rail car loads of V-2s and parts were captured and shipped to the United States, and 126 of the principal designers, including Werner von Braun and Walter Dornberger, were in American hands. Von Braun and his brother Magnus von Braun and 7 others decided to surrender to U.S. military units to ensure that they were not captured by the advancing Soviets or shot dead by the Nazis to prevent their capture. After the Nazi defeat, German engineers were moved to the United States, the United Kingdom, and the USSR, where they further developed the V-2 rocket for military and civilian purposes. The V-2 rocket also laid the foundation for the liquid fuel missiles and space launchers used later. It's not clear exactly how many V-2 rockets were captured by the Soviets. It is known by 1946 the German rocket scientists that had been captured by the Soviets and whatever rocket parts they had were moved to the USSR. There are no known rocket tests by the Soviets from German territory, and there is no concrete evidence that they fired any missiles in 1946 over Scandinavia or other parts of Europe such as Greece or Portugal. But let us say for a moment that it was the Soviets in fact shooting their version of V-2s over Sweden and Finland. Why were there no parts recovered? When the Germans used V-2s against Britain and other parts of Europe, there were parts recovered, and when the Germans used them, they used them as bombs. There's no evidence that the so-called ghost rockets over Scandinavia had any explosives in them, at least not enough explosives to do damage to anything other than supposedly to disintegrate the missile itself. As I mentioned in the previous video, someone suggested that the missile was made out of a magnesium alloy, and that's what caused it to burn up with no trace. Again, there is no evidence for this other than the hypothetical conclusion to explain the lack of evidence. Other circumstantial evidence against the proposition that these were Soviet tests was that there's no reason for the Soviets to be firing anything over neutral Sweden and Finland. Doing so would just turn those countries against the Soviets. Plus, the Soviet Union had vast amounts of uninhabited land that they could test rockets over. At this point in history, rocket tests were kept as secret as possible, so there's no sense shooting them over Sweden where parts might be recovered and identified as being part of a Soviet rocket program. And while Sweden was neutral, they also had close ties to the United States military, and it's clear that they had invited American military experts to come to Sweden to look at the ghost rocket situation in 1946, as I described in the previous video. So what is the likely explanation for most of the reports of the ghost rockets? Very clearly, the majority of these sightings occurred during the Perseid meteor shower, and in fact, reports of meteorites were found where rockets supposedly had fallen. Many reports of the so-called rockets happened during the day, and while it's certainly easier to see meteors at night, larger ones that penetrate the atmosphere and burn up during the day are still visible to the naked eye. So there you have it. That's the answer. The ghost rockets were by and large meteors. Could some of them have been extraterrestrial craft? Extremely unlikely. Besides the sun, the nearest star is over 4 light years away. Even if an alien civilization had the technology to travel extremely fast, it would take many, many years to reach the Earth. Those who believe that the Earth has been visited and experienced multiple crashes of extraterrestrial vehicles have to believe that a civilization can construct and pilot sophisticated technology across vast stretches of space for many years, if not decades or hundreds of years, and when they come upon the Earth, promptly crash into it. But that just doesn't make any sense. Nor does it make any sense that higher civilizations would come to the Earth and spend all their time mutilating cattle. Okay, that's the end of the story. What do you think? Were these evidence of extraterrestrials or just the Soviets testing captured vengeance rockets from a German location? Or was it just mass hysteria or meteors? And if you haven't already, please watch part 1 of this story. I would appreciate it if you've made it this far if you would leave a comment, either positive or negative. And if you like this type of content and want to see more, it would really help me out if you subscribe to this YouTube channel. Also, please view my other videos, and if you like them, click the like button. It also helps out if you leave a comment in the comment section for each one. I'm on Instagram at Anthony RR Mills. You can follow me there. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it.